Y'all, we are at 50 episodes of the School for Writers podcast. I am so excited that today we are celebrating all 50 of those episodes. My podcast manager, Samantha, and I have put together your favorites in a special recap episode just for you today. And we have a special thank you for listening prize waiting for you. So let's get to it. Welcome back to the School for Writers podcast, episode 50! I'm so excited to be celebrating today with you. We have put together a recap of your favorite episodes of season 2. Now, we have a season 1 recap from last year that you can go back and listen to, so we didn't include any of those this time around because you've already heard them. But now we're going to do a season 2 recap for you for episode 50. These are the episodes that you have liked the most, the tidbits that you have said have helped you the most as writers. And to celebrate you being here through all 50 episodes, I am offering a special discount code on my Write More challenge. That is 100% off. That's amazing, right? So if you go to writemorechallenge.com before October 1st, 2021, yes, it does expire. This party has to end at some point. You can get 100% off with code episode50. That is all one word and all lowercase. Episode 50. That is my special thank you to you for showing up here, being a subscriber, and listening to the School for Writers podcast. Okay, now let's go on to your favorite episodes of season 2, your favorite episodes actually of the podcast, because we have more listeners now in season 2 than we have in season 1. So these are our highest ranked episodes. Are you ready? What was your favorite? I want to know that first. So think about your favorite and see if it comes up. Today we're doing our top 5 episodes. So number 5 is, drumroll please, how to write a query letter. You all are so interested in getting your books out into the world, and it makes me so happy to hear that. And I'm happy to be able to be here and help you with that. How to Write a Query Letter was one of our most popular episodes this past season because it gave you a step-by-step breakdown on exactly how to put together a query letter so you can send it out to agents and get your fiction book published. Here's a clip from that episode. The third thing you have to do before sending your query letter out to agents is make sure that you've done your research. Don't waste their time or yours. Query only when your letter is fully polished, when your letter itself and the book is polished, that it's completely formed for that agent itself, that you've done research, that they actually promote and work with people within your genre, people with story like yours. You don't want to waste your time or their time querying to agents who don't even represent books like yours. So do your research. So once again, you can send your query letter out to agents along with your full complete book, 1, when your book is finished, 2, when your book is polished, and 3, when you've done your research and you've made sure that this agent would be a great fit for you and your book. So you put together your query letter, you've got it all ready to go, everything is good, you send it out, now what do you do? Well, now you gotta be patient and wait. Sometimes it takes up to 6 months of waiting to hear from a person. Sometimes you never hear back. I still haven't heard back years later from the first people that I ever pitched to. This waiting time is a perfect time to read, catch up on Netflix, relax, or even better yet, build yourself an audience. Write your next book. As they say, the best way to sell your first book is to write the second. So just because you're waiting doesn't mean you need to stop writing. Keep writing. Don't stop. I hope that episode inspired you fiction writers to go out there and put your book out into the world. Okay, now for our 4th top listened episode yet. You ready? Drum roll. Boom! How to become a better writer. You all are so amazing at the way that you want to keep learning craft. Not only do you want to learn how to make money and build a successful career, which is awesome, but you also want to be better writers. You want to learn about craft. And this episode, How to Be a Better Writer, was all about craft. Here's a sample from that episode. First, we're going to talk about voice or essence. Your voice or your essence is the perspective from which your story is told. Anytime you tell a story to a friend or a family member or in a book about an event or an incident in your day, you are engaging in some form of narration. Narration includes both who tells the story and how the story is told. so it deals with point of view and tense in the book. It also includes narrative techniques like the physical location, the temporal location, the plot structure, any themes you might have, the details you share or don't share, the various different storytelling styles and linguistic techniques. All these other elements, they're all a part of narration. All of this is to say, narration is important. It sets the tone for your whole story. But it's also really simple. It's that thing we do without even realizing we're doing it. I'm narrating to you right now. The difference, however, between a decent book and a great book lies in taking your writing from something you just do to something you're intentional about when you go to edit it. I hope you enjoyed that episode as much as I did. Writing it even helped me become a better writer, and I hope that it encouraged you to practice the craft of writing, to meet yourself where you're at right now as a writer, and to grow and get even better in the craft. Okay, are you ready for our third most popular episode? Are you ready for it? Drumroll, please. Boom. It is Rest and Writing with Octavia Rahim. This one was really important and special to me because I think that so often we live in this society that's capitalistic, focused, that makes us think that our value is by how much we produce, how much we do, how much we go. And I love Octavia's outlook on life about the importance of taking rest and how it can actually make you a better writer. It can fill your bucket of creativity, and it's just part of being human and so important and something we often overlook. Here's a clip from that episode.
Transformation happens all at once and also in the choices and decisions we make one moment at a time. And I frequently have backslid, right? And been like, I don't know if I can trust this path. And so when I say I'm a devotee of rest, the way I think about and define rest is between one thing and another, there's always a pause, right? There's a space. And most of us don't notice the space because we just blow through it. We don't notice that there's a pause between the inhale and the exhale because we're just like, whatever it is. We don't notice that when we get off this call, there's a space. We can let that space be and then move into the next thing. And so for me, rest is acknowledging the organic and natural pause that exists and honoring the moments when we need to extend that pause. That's how I define rest. And so I'm a devotee of the kind of presence that allows me to be aware of the pause and to be aware of myself enough to know when I am like, okay, that little one beat of a pause, that's what I needed. I needed that one beat between the breaths. Or to notice when I'm like, I need to shut all of this down and I need to really lay down and snuggle up. And, so I teach restorative yoga where we're all bundled up, we're wrapped up. I love teaching restorative yoga to grown folks. I love watching adults rest. It's like my favorite thing to do. And it's such a precious and tender thing. And that's not all of what I'm talking about with rest. I'm talking about honoring the pause and acknowledging it and allowing yourself to linger in it when you need to. So I'm a devotee to that because also that in-between space, we can call it the liminal space, is where so much can emerge. Like when we get off this call, we'll need a moment to be like, what'd that feel like?
I hope that episode helped inspire you, like it inspired me, to take some time off to rest. Whenever I feel myself close to burnt out or working too much, I go back and listen to that episode with Octavia Rahim. And I took a whole month off of the podcast and I listened to it at least twice as a reminder that I deserve rest. I hope it helped you remember that you deserve rest as well. Okay, our second most popular episode of the School for Writers podcast has been, drumroll please, boom, What It Takes to Write a Book. Y'all, I love how much you want to write books. Obviously, I love books. There's books behind me in the video. I do a book recommendation at the end of almost every episode. I am completely obsessed with books. I read at least one a week. I love books. And I love that you want to write books. I love that you're here to learn how to put your book and your story out into the world. If you haven't yet, I highly suggest signing up for my Write Your Freaking Book Already waiting list. We open that again in February, and I would love to have you in it if you're interested in writing a book. But we also have great tips here on the podcast, including our second most popular episode, What It Takes to Write a Book. Here's a clip from that episode.
I had a lot of fears. I think my biggest one was I knew I wanted to write erotica, and that can be scary. You know what I mean? Mostly because I was nervous to tell my family, for sure. And I've told them now, so that is over and done with. But that was my biggest, that was a huge celebration. It was not easy, but I did it. That was my biggest fear. Because I want my actual name to be on the book. I don't want to hide. I like to be very out and proud. But it's scary, to go public with erotica and to think about like how that might affect your professional life or your family or other things like that. But ultimately, I'm so glad I didn't let that hold me back. And I had a lot of conversations with Lauren, and thank you. You were so reassuring. And she was just like, no, you can't do this. Like, your story needs to be heard. People need to read this. Like, you need to just do it. Don't let fear hold you back. And I'm so glad that I listened to her. And I'm so glad that I did it. So I kind of just said, screw it. I'm going to do this. I talked to my family about it a couple of months ago, and that felt really good to get it off my chest. And, it was a difficult conversation, but they were supportive.
I hope that everything we do here helps you figure out how to get your book out into the world. And to help you even more with that, we have our number one most popular episode that we've had yet. Are you ready? Drumroll, please. Boom. It is writing a book during a pandemic with Paige Baschuk. Now, Paige was in my Write Your Friggin' Book Already program, and she talked a lot about what it was like being stuck at home with two small kids in a small apartment in Switzerland, not her home country, learning a new language, a new country, and being stuck during a pandemic and still finding time to write a book. It is such an inspiring story. It has been an honor to work with Paige. She's such a great writer. She's such a great human. And she shares her story with us on her tips for how she went out and did this. Here's a clip from that episode. And I would love to know, what kind of writing had you done up until that point, up until this program?
So I studied creative writing in college, and I loved it. And then I went to grad school and I studied literature and writing more. But then I got out of school and I needed to make rent. So I took any writing job available. I became a reporter for a local newspaper outside of DC, writing on high school football and crime, murder scenes and all different kinds of things that were really incredible. And I was a journalist for 7 years, I think, before we moved to Switzerland. And it was a really fast-paced lifestyle, fast deadlines, breaking news, mean editors. And that gave me the skills to write really quickly and not think about it too much, which I love that I have that, but it wasn't fulfilling in like a soulful life purpose way. And when I looked back at the writing that I've done, what I was working on in college, creating my own world, writing fiction, was the happiest I've been, the most fulfilled I've been.
I hope Paige's story inspired you as much as it inspired me. Being able to be Paige's coach was an honor, and I have such great admiration for all of the people who've been in my programs and wrote books during this hard time, during this pandemic. So those were our top 5 episodes. Was your favorite on there? What one did we miss that you loved? Let us know. Ping us on Instagram. I'm at Lauren Marie Fleming. We're also at School for Writers. You can also find us on Facebook or send us a message at info@laurenmariefleming.com. I would love to hear what your favorite part of the podcast is. I'd also love to hear, what haven't we covered? What is a topic you really want to hear? Who's an author you'd love for us to bring on? This is a process that I want us to do together. I'm not just here to talk and lecture at you. I want you to learn what you want to learn. So let us know what you're missing. Let us know what you love, and let us know where you would like to have us teach you and what you would want to learn around the book writing process and around being a writer in general. I am so honored that you are here listening to the podcast, and I would love it if you would follow and subscribe so we can keep growing. Thank you again for making our podcast so successful that we've been able to get to 50 episodes. I can't wait until we're celebrating episode 500, and I can't wait to have you on to talk about your book. And don't forget, you get that 100% off my Write More Challenge course if you sign up by October 1st, and that is using code episode50, EPISODE50. We'll have that link in the show notes as well at writemorechallenge.com. Thank you again for being a listener, and I cannot wait to read your book. This week's book recommendation, a special one for our 50th episode, is The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. This book has been everywhere lately. Everywhere I go, I seem to find it. And I loved the title. It seemed really cool, so I bought it. After buying it, I realized that it is the winner of the Hugo Award for Best Series. It's a part of a series. It also is constantly listed on fantasy and sci-fi LGBTQ lists. It is such a great book, and it is popping up everywhere I know. So finally, I took it off my shelf and I read it. And let me tell you all, it's amazing. It's so amazing. I don't know if you know this, but I got COVID while traveling. I am vaccinated. I was masking, and it was really hard to have gotten it while I was traveling. I was stuck in a hotel room for a week. I couldn't leave. I couldn't do anything. All I had with me was this book, and I devoured it. I devoured it so quickly. I had to have the manager went out of the hotel and got me more books. If you haven't seen my Patricia Cornwell review, you should go see that. We'll put the show notes in it about the whole story about the manager going out and getting me more books. But this was the first book I read, stuck in a hotel room with COVID, and it made me forget how sick I was and how crappy I felt about the whole situation. Not only that, but it made me feel a little less alone in the world. I know that it's about these aliens traveling through space, but they were queer and they were poly, and they looked at humanity differently in a way that was really beautiful. It was interesting. They're punching holes through the space-time continuum so people can get through like express freeways. It's such a cool concept, and I love all of it because it really felt like a look at how we could accept others as ourselves. A look at how sometimes expansion and capitalism for the sake of it is not great. But it was also just fun. Really cool, weird characters that are, there's a whole race of aliens that look like giant clams and oysters. And they're like really smart and taking over the world. It's just a cool concept. There's a whole concept of people who like have their feathers that are sexual. And there's some cool sexual parts to it. I just loved it. I really loved it. If you can't tell from my voice, I really loved it. It was quirky, it was fun, and I went out and bought all the rest in the series because I know I'm going to devour them. I love a good series. I love a good world building, and this is all of the things I want in a book. It's everything I want in a book. It has queer elements. It talks about racial tension. It talks about expansion. It talks about interconnectivity between people. It talks about our own humanity and what it means to be a human. And it's also really entertaining, really fun, and a really cool world that she's built. So I highly, 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 like beyond highly suggest grabbing yourself a copy of The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. And if you want to get yourself a copy, I highly suggest using our bookshop.org link in the bio. Not only does that allow you to buy a book through a small independent bookstore, much better than that big name that we all know, and it also allows you to support the School for Writers podcast. Or if you're more of an audiobook person, I think I'm going to actually listen to some of these on audiobook because the narrator sounds really great and the characters are really cool. If you're an audiobook person like I am, you can use the link in our bio to go to Libro.fm. Libro.fm is a great alternative to that big name audiobook company that we know. Not only does it support independent bookstores, you also own your files, so you can share them if you want. It's an amazing, amazing way to listen to audiobooks. They have a great app for you. They have a membership program just like that big name one. It's a really great alternative and something we highly suggest. And we have a link in the bio for you to get a free audiobook, and we get a free audiobook, so it's a win-win. Go grab yourself a copy from either bookshop.org or Libro.fm of The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. And we have links to that in the show notes.